Well, today's episode, I'm going to make up for three events that took place all the way from Friday to Sunday. The first one is going to be the latest Impact Wrestling pay per view, Under Siege, where, of course, the Impact Wrestling World Tag Team titles are on the line. ABC defends it against Subculture. We got the Knockouts Women's Championship on the line. If Jordan Grace doesn't win this match, she will never get another opportunity. But we'll see how that turns out. And of course, finally, the no disqualification match for the Impact World title. Will Steve Maclin overcome PCO, or PCO will reign supreme as the Impact World Champion? And of course, after that, we will continue with WWE's Night of Champions. We have all championship matches taking place. We have the first crowning of the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. Who will walk out? Will be the phenomenal AJ Styles or the Architect Seth Rollins. And of course, we have the Raw and the SmackDown Women's titles on the line. We also have the Intercontinental title, two grudge matches, and of course, the undisputed tag team titles are on the line. Will Sami Zayn and Kevin Knight overcome the Bloodline? We just got to find out. And then finally, we ended with Battleground, my bad. NXT Battleground, where we're going to witness who will become our brand new NXT Women's Champion. The NXT Tag Team titles will be on the line, so is the North American title. We'll have a last man standing match and whatnot. And then, of course, we'll end it with some news updates to tell what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling. So, let's get ready for another episode of the Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to the Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, Gerard here. So, let's begin with Impact Wrestling Under Siege. This took place this past Friday on the 26th of May. Our opening match, we have Nick Aldis taking on Kenny King, being accompanied by his little stooge, Sheldon G. Now, this particular match has started out ever since Nick Aldis returned. He made one clear goal, is to work his way to the Impact Wrestling World Championship. However, Kenny King feels like here's this guy who is an absolute legend, well recognized in the Impact Wrestling the family, who's believing that he's out to get his spot. So basically, he decided to get under his skin. Now, Nick Aldis wasn't going to take his little crap, so this match took place. But of course, at some point, Sheldon G was going to get involved, but he got his ass whooped regardless. But it took only a Texas Cloverleaf by Nick Aldis to put away Kenny King. But we also got to be paying attention. Will Steve Maclin, on the other hand, be paying attention knowing that he's gunning for him? We'll see it when that happens. Now, our next match, we have... Well, before our next match, this is what happened. As soon as Nick Aldis was leaving the ring, he saw something in the crowd, and we saw once again the brawl between Killer Kelly and Masha Slamovich. If you guys remember, on Thursday, we saw Masha Slamovich and Kelly King right in around the kitchen going, beating the crap out of each other. Well, they continue with some more. So it looks more like this is going to go on forever or so. So we'll see how that turns out. It's becoming a very good storyline with that. Now, our next match, we have the Design. Angels, Khan, and Dean are taking on Rich Swann and Sami Callihan and a third partner. And that is, the third partner turned out to be someone from Impact Wrestling's history, none other than Jake Crist. I'm like, holy cow, he's back. But what I like about this match is that, of course, it's great that these three guys are back together as, old friends from old times. But the one thing they have to do is stand together, knowing they have to deal with a bunch of lunatics. But the one bigger threat they had to deal was Khan, who is a big monster. So that's what I did like about him. But in fact, it was a roll up by Swan onto Angels to pick up the win. So basically, they may have gotten it. But the real honest question does tell: is this really over between the design and Callahan and his buddies? Well, that is something we will see coming out in the fallout this coming Thursday. I'm sure there's going to be some hell to pay. Now, Santino Morella, as you know, he's back. He took care of business on the opening show of Under Siege, which I did not see. Apparently, he has some unfinished business with Dango. As you know, he's pissed off. Dango somehow exerted himself to be his so-called deputy of authority, which he did not want it. So he's basically gonna kick his ass, from what he says. Now, our next match, we have Trinity Fatu taking on Giselle Shaw. Now, I don't know exactly how this. I mean, I don't know if Jai Vidal was stirring the pot or whatever. As you know, he said he got in trouble by Giselle Shaw for taking that selfie. But the obvious thing is, was this 100% true or not? Well, we just don't know. So this match was going to take place. But of course, I was a bit worried because, the X factor in this match is Vidal and Savannah Evans outside the ring. But luckily, it did not stop Trinity no matter what until she applied the Starstruck, forcing her to tap out. So we could see Trinity making her way to one goal in mind, in which is the Knockouts Women's Championship. Now, before our start of our Impact World Tag Team Title match, we had an interview with none other than Subculture, as you know, Mark Andrews, who hasn't been with the promotion in 7 years. Made it great that he's going to be there, but however, it appears that the good hands and the so-called most professional wrestler, they think that what gives them the right to be the ones to challenge for the Impact World Tag Team titles. Well, that's how it happened. But they said if they do win, they'll give them a chance. But we'll just wait and see until that happens. But I have to say the match was pretty good, with Subculture and ABC. I'm like amazed by the whole thing. I mean, I didn't think I was ever going to see Subculture again, but why not? But it only took the 1-2 sweet to put away Mark Andrews and make sure the ABC retained the titles. So the obvious question we hear now this: now that they retained the titles, would that leave the door wide open for the good hands to finally get what they wanted? Well, we'll see how that turns out. Now, our next match is the X Division title. Now, Trey Miguel has defiled the title because he feels that, the past is the past. It doesn't matter. I mean, he defiled the X Division title because he feels that he's not getting the proper respect. Instead, he's not giving respect to those before him because he feels that's a load of crap. So he has to deal with Chris Sabin, who amongst those are the people. But of course, like anything, Trey Miguel will stop at nothing to ensure the title stays with them. But he used the spray to make sure he retained the title, pinning Chris Sabin. So this is really messed up, but we'll see what happens on Thursday when we get there. Next up is the Impact World Title #1 contender. So we have 6 competitors taking place. We have Moose, who has been world champion before. Eddie Edwards, same thing as him. Jonathan Gresham, he has been world champion, but not with Impact. Yuya Uemura, still new, hasn't won a championship just yet. Then we have Alex Shelley, who is determined to finally reach his goal to become world champion. And then finally, we have Frankie Kazarian. So I thought this match was pretty great, but however, much of what we saw is Frankie Kazarian and Eddie Edwards coming back. As you know, Eddie Edwards is claiming that he is the true locker room leader, but Frankie Kazarian thinks he's full of crap, because if he was the locker room leader, he should not have betrayed the locker room when he joined Honor No More. But for me, I was thinking who was gonna walk out. I was hoping it was Shelley because he deserved it more. He hasn't held this title before. He has been X Division champion and tag team champion. But will he pull it off? I thought It was pretty great until he applied the shell shock onto who was it? He applied it on Yumura, becoming our brand new number one contender for the Impact World title. So whoever walks out at the main event will be facing Alex Shelley to defend it. Now, our next match, we have the Impact Knockouts World Championship. Jordan Grace versus Deonna Purrazzo. Now, we know these two have been back and forth in the past. If you guys remember, ever since Deonna Purrazzo first arrived, she defeated Jordan Grace for the title. But this is a very interesting one where if Jordan Grace does not win, she will never get another opportunity as long as Deonna Purrazzo is still um, the Knockouts champion. But I thought it was a pretty great match, showed. But it took an avalanche Queen's Gambit for Deonna Purrazzo to put away Jordan Grace. So basically, it's over for Grace just like that. But we do know afterwards it was shown that her time is up with Impact Wrestling, but she's gonna take a little bit of a break from pro wrestling just to focus on other projects. It's still no telling where she will land next, but all we can do is root for her and hopefully she lands somewhere good. We still don't know if her husband will still stay there. I mean, I'm sure he's still going to stay there, but we'll get to that at some other point. Now, our main event is a no disqualification match for the Impact World title between Steve Maclin and PCO. This match was a total mayhem. I mean, you had to use every ounce of toys, tables, ladders, thumbtacks. There was blood everywhere and all that, including cinder blocks, but it was Steve Maclin that walked out when he applied the KIA on a cinder block to PCO to become world champion, to retain the title. But however, apparently D'Amore had no other choice but to oblige to Maclin's demand that he hit the belt on his waist. It's more like a deal's a deal, even though he doesn't like the idea, because Maclin has been gone paranoid saying that they're out to get him. But Maclin goes out of his way saying that he's stupid, that he, in fact, as the world champion, is the real boss of the Impact. But out of nowhere, here comes that sick, despicable Bully Ray, who we thought he was long gone, attacked. But the one thing he tried to do is put Scott D'Amore in a burning table. I mean, the Motor City Machine Guns tried to help, so is PCO. But however, even Matthew Winrall tried to stop him, but it didn't work. But Bully said that he is not going nowhere, that he's going to burn Impact Wrestling to the ground with him. So now it's becoming a war between Bully Ray, who he thinks that he gets what he wants, and as for Maclin, he thinks that he makes the decisions from now on. But we'll see what happens on Thursday. But I'm sure many people from the locker room, including certain staff members, are not going to be pleased with Maclin's actions helping Bully Ray try to take out the president of Impact Wrestling. So I think that's it for now with Impact. Let's move on with WWE's Night of Champions. Alrighty then. So let's go with WWE's Night of Champions. As you know, they went to Jeddah in Saudi Arabia. Let's get started with our very first match. We have the WWE World Heavyweight title. This is for the final of the tournament. Who will walk out? Will it be the phenomenal AJ Styles or the architect Seth Rollins? I thought this match was amazing. I thought it was a very good opener. Of course, everybody was trying to pull off their finishers as much as possible in order to pick up. I mean, I did see that Seth Rollins was trying to apply the pedigree, but there were moments like he felt like his knee was giving out, but it did not try to stop him. Even AJ was trying to do his finishers and every move he can think of, but however, none of that worked until Seth Rollins finally applied the stomp and becoming our very first ever WWE World Heavyweight Champion. Now, I know what some people are thinking right now since Seth Rollins won this title. It's only a matter of time until Roman Reigns decides that he's going to challenge it. However, there's no way that's going to happen because, he is on Raw while he's on Seth Rollins in Raw and Roman Reigns is in SmackDown. unless he wants to relinquish both of them in order to get that. I don't know, but we'll see how that turns. Now, this next match has no championship implications on this. This is simply a grudge match between Trish Stratus and Becky Lynch. Now, if you guys remember, while back when Becky Lynch and Lita were the women's tag team champions, someone attacked Lita, and it turned out to be Trish all this time. So this is becoming a bit of a grudge match, as always, going back and forth, back and forth, more of the old guard versus the new guard. But however, when we thought that Becky Lynch had this match won, out of nowhere, underneath the ring, we saw Zoe Starks deciding to help Trish Stratus, and of course got herself involved. But of course, this took Trish Stratus to do the Stratusfaction in order to win the match. But the obvious does tell, is this over? This is going to go on between Becky and Trish. We just got to wait and see. Now, our next match, this is for the WWE Intercontinental Champion, our reigning champion, who's been very excellent defending it. Gunther takes on Mustafa Ali. I feel like this is more of a home field advantage for this one, but also Mustafa tried everything in his power to do it. I mean, we have seen Gunther. He does very impressive matches over time. I mean, who could forget about Attack at the Castle? I think that was the one they did in Scotland or whatever. That was a great one. But Mustafa, I feel like he was the ultimate underdog in this match. But he tried everything in his power to try to get this job done. But however, Gunther somehow was able to overcome every blow that he can throw at him until he applied the power bomb. 1, 2, 3. Once again, his reign supreme as the Intercontinental Champion. Now, our next match is the WWE Raw's Women's Title. Asuka taking on Bianca Belair. This match, I thought it was very interesting because, as you know, we've seen how Asuka been acting up around Bianca Belair for a while now since then. And you know how that turns out. But however, I thought it was a good moment where, of course, we saw that the Bianca Belair was smart enough to dodge not 100% of the mist, but somehow Asuka was able to save just enough to put on her hand and use that on her eyes without the ref knowledge. But it did give like some sort time for Asuka to do her some kind of a roundhouse kick to knock her out. And 1, 2, 3, our brand new Raw Women's Champion. So that's going to be interesting to go. So what happens after that, we will see until then. Now, speaking of the women's division, we have the SmackDown women's division, Natalya versus Rhea Ripley. Now, you probably can guess who was by her side, of course. That sniveling little weasel, Dominic. Of course, he gets involved, as always, making sure Mommy retains the belt. And of course, because Natalya, who's been a veteran of the game, feels that Rhea Ripley has no respect for nobody, defiled the title, whatever. But it took only a riptide to put away Natalya in order to retain the title. Now, our next match, Brock Lesnar versus Cody. Now, when we thought this whole thing between Cody and Brock was done a while back, it wasn't. Apparently, Brock was not going to let this go, was not going to let it happen. Then, recently, a couple weeks back, he attacked Cody by hurting his arm. And no matter what they tried to tell him that he cannot continue with his arm injured, he decided to go for it. In every way possible, that Cody was not going to back down no matter what Brock Lesnar did. I mean, Cody did fight valiantly, but however, this match ended by ref stoppage and all that. But however, I heard from many fans are saying this match is a load of crap, that this should have ended with Cody beating him once and for all, putting him away so he can focus his way to get back on top. And I think that's something that should have been done, but no, it didn't. So we'll see what happens later. Now, our main event is for the WWE Undisputed Tag Team titles. We have, of course, Solo Sikoa and Roman Reigns of the Bloodline taking on our champions, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. This is a very interesting matchup. Now, keep in mind, we have been seeing back and forth moments between these two teams, especially when Sami was part of the Bloodline for a brief while. But as you know, But there's been a lot of implications in this match. As you know, the Usos were no longer in favor by Roman Reigns to regain these titles back. So Roman said that he and Solo will be the ones to do it. So there was some good moments. However, there was the moments where we saw the ref was out. Of course, the Usos weren't going to come out. But there was an interesting moment when they thought they had everything covered. They accidentally took out Solo Sikoa, not realizing what just happened. Roman Reigns was dissatisfied with what just happened. He took the blame on the Usos for everything. But the most interesting thing that took place is when Jimmy decided to super kick Roman Reigns. Jay cannot believe that his own twin brother did that. But of course, Jimmy said we should have done this a long time ago, which it did, ended. But it took only, of course, later, as soon as the Usos left the ring, Sammy and Kevin applied, of course, a stunner, then a haluva onto Solo Sikoa to ensure that Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens remain as our current undisputed WWE Tag Team Champions. So the obvious question is now: is the bloodline falling apart? Which is something that Kevin and Sami Zayn have talked about. So the obvious thing is Roman Reigns, as you know, does not tolerate failure. We'll see how things turn out when they see each other again. So I think that's pretty much it right now with Night of Champions. Let's move on to our final review, and that is NXT Battleground. Okay, NXT Battleground, our last update, our last review here. So let's talk about it. Opening match is the NXT North American title. Now, as you know, Wesley has been a fighting champion from the very beginning. People have doubted him from the very beginning, but he has proven time and time again that he's a worthy champion. But the one thing he has a problem is he has challengers coming left and right, attacking him or trying to demand a title shot. All they have to do is say, I want a title shot. That's all they need to do. But however, Joe Gacy, who had his sights set on the North American title, he even decided to play little mind games with Wes's new friend Tyler Bate, because it was no secret that Tyler Bate wanted a shot of the title. So that kind of puts it in a conflicting manner. But however, Wesley knows he has to pull through in order to retain the title. However, of course, the one bigger threat here was in fact is Joe Gacy, who's been a bigger problem ever since forming the schism. But however, they were able to overcome it. But my favorite moment, it was the ending. When we saw Joe Gacy was about to do the upside down, well, the moment he turned back, the cardiac kick, 1, 2, 3, it was over. Wesley has retained his title, and a huge disappointing loss for Tyler Bate. Now, our next match is the NXT Heritage Cup. Now, ever since Noam Dar first arrived, he targeted Dragon Lee. You know, he thinks there's nothing exciting about him and all this other stuff. I mean, look, Dragon Lee has a much bigger reputation than Noam Dar. But of course, this is how it went down throughout the entire time. Noam Dar won the match on the second round, then Dragon Lee on the third round. But in the fifth round, that's when Noam Dar won. The only reason he won is because Oro Menza was gotten away. But because this served as a distraction, we saw Jakara Jackson distract the referee, and then Lash Legend knocked out, whacked Dragon Lee with the spit cup, whatever bowl, onto the back of Dragon Lee in order for Noam Dar to retain the NXT Heritage Cup. So basically, he cheated his way through once again, thinking it. But sooner or later, he's gonna have to lose that. Now, our next match is the last man standing match. I thought this is where, of course, you're gonna see a lot of punishment from both sides. I mean, look, Dijakovic claims that Dragunov is out, saying that the justice needs to be served. But we have seen Dragunov, what amazing matches he can throw in. Like, he's the kind of guy we have seen time and time again where he's never say die attitude. That's always been Dragunov, in my opinion. Never say die, no matter what guys like Dijakovic did. I mean, guys who have done that was guys who tried to take him out, like Gunther back then when he was known as Walter. That sort of thing. That played out pretty well. So I'm like, cannot believe that how much brutality they had to go through. I mean, but the one thing that took out for one of them to stay down, um, what was it? Dragunov applied like a forearm on top of Dijakovic while he is face down on steel steps. He did not stand up after the 10 count, and that gave, of course, Dragunov the win. Now our next match is the NXT Tag Team titles. We have the Creed brothers, Julius and Brutus, taking on the Gallows Boys, Wolfgang and Mark Coffey. Now I thought this match was pretty well. I mean, the Creed brothers have always been one of those impressive tag teams we've seen so far. But the one thing that was really that kind of went away is, of course, recently we have seen Ivy Nile being attacked by none other than Ava Reigns. Once again, Ava Reigns caused a distraction, but it gave, of course, the Gallus boys to do the Gala kick onto Julius. Another huge disappointing loss to the Creed brothers. But however, you probably can guarantee that the Creed brothers will definitely want to take the frustrations out on the Schism, especially Ava Reigns, who's been nothing but problems since then. Now, as you know, a couple of months back, we saw Indy Hartwell. Well, about a month ago or two, I don't know. Anyway, a month after the draft, we saw Indy Hartwell has been drafted into the main roster. But due to the fact of what happened in the last pay-per-view, she got injured. So she was unable to, how do I say, compete to defend the title. So she made the ultimate decision to relinquish the title and start a tournament. However, we saw a long line of girls that wanted that title, and one of them is, of course, Tiffany Stratton. So we saw tournaments taking place since then, but it took only the last two, Lyra Valkyria and Tiffany Stratton. I thought this match was pretty good, but one thing that was striking is Valkyria. Now, keep in mind, in the semifinals, Valkyria was viciously attacked by Cora Jade, who was nothing more than a sore loser who couldn't stand the fact that she could not advance. But however, that played a part to ensure for Tiffany Stratton to pick up the win until she applied the moonsault on her to become our brand new NXT Women's Champion. However, we'll see who's going to be the first one to take a crack at her. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Cora Jade, since she claims is the savior of NXT. Now to our main event, the NXT Championship. Braun Breaker, the previous champion, as you know, he has now decided to go on a rampage, especially with Carmelo Hayes. Now Hayes has to dig deeper, knowing that he went through hell with Braun Breaker the last time. But this is a new attitude by Braun Breaker that he developed since then. So that's what he had to do. Every move, of course, you probably can guess that Trick Williams would do anything to help him, but that did not work. But it took only nothing but net to put away Braun Breaker in order for Carmelo Hayes to retain the title. So that pretty much is over there. Now the obvious question does tell until we get to Tuesday. Who will be the next person to step up to challenge for the NXT title? Well, we just got to wait and see until Tuesday Wrestling. So I think that's pretty much it right now with Battleground. I believe it's time to do our last and final thing, news updates. Welcome to our news updates. So let's get started. Now, I failed to mention this during the Night of Champions, so luckily for me, I decided to put it on the little thingy on my notepads on this one. WWE has announced for their upcoming event coming in early July, on July 1st to be exact, Money in the Bank will happen, but it will take place in London, UK. So that's going to be a very interesting. I cannot remember what venue they will do it in. So that's going to be something we definitely going to be finding out. Now, for our West Coast Pro updates for Kid Zombie, as you know, we're getting closer to that event on June 9th. We have Rachel Ellering taking on Vert Vixen. And then, of course, a month later, we have the Cruel Summer 2023 taking place on July 8th. We have, of course, Trish Adora will be participating in that event, but no announcement who will be her opponent until we find out sooner. Um, MLW has announced for their Fusion event this coming Thursday, Hijo del Vikingo will be making his debut. As you know, he is a hot wrestler who we've been seeing. He showed up in AEW, he showed up in GCW, various promotions. I'm sure many promotions would like to have him around, so that's going to be great. Now, we all saw what happened in Double or Nothing with Konosuke Takeshita actually attacking Kenny, turning his back on the Elite. But however, Kenny did stated this, that it was not even on the air. He's saying that he has a couple of two non AEW friends that he can ask for backup, and amongst them could be Kota Ibushi. However, Ibushi talked to none other than Dark Pure Russo Fusion, a YouTube channel a Twitter page that has been in contact with him for quite some time. He did say that he never thought Konosuke Takeshita was great, but he does feel that Takeshita is an imitation of him. But he did stated that Takeshita has never respected him. So we could possibly see Kota Ibushi showing up to deal with him. So that's something we are definitely going to be looking forward to it. I'll explain more about that at some other time, but we'll see it. Now, DEFY Wrestling has announced for their upcoming event later in June on the 24th. The King of Strange Style, Aries, takes on Cody Chun. GCW has announced for the Tournament of Survival 8 for their final participant. Now, remember, there's 12 wrestlers that will participate. 11 of them has announced. Well, to my surprise, and I'm sure for all of you, this person was announced that he's going to participate. I never would have thought this would be the one person. If you guys are thinking, if you guys don't know who I'm talking about, well, for all you New Japan fans out there, my subscribers, it's Desperado. He is the final participant. I know what you guys are going to think. Holy shit. Me, I thought the same thing. So I'm like, oh, I know he was involved in death matches before. I mean, who could forget about his match with Jun Kasai and Jon Moxley? So that's going to be interesting to see. Now, an interesting article comes around about Taya Valkyrie. Now, many of you who remember, Taya Valkyrie made her debut in Winnipeg, Canada. Now, she explains certain aspects. Now, she did stated that she was on the same flight as the Young Bucks and several other people with AEW. But however, she had to cover her face when she arrived to Winnipeg. But she also stated that she did not stay in the same hotel that the other WWE talent, the AEW talent, were at. So that's a good thing. But she did say that once they picked her up, she had to sneak in through a door. Nobody knew that she was going to be there. So that was pretty much it. So that's kind of interesting to tell. Now, I found an interesting tweet from Matt Cardona and Atticus Cogar. Now, Cardona claims himself that he is the king of the death matches, but one person would definitely disagree, and I had a feeling from the very beginning he would disagree with them, because I would love to see Matt Cardona get murdered by him, and I'm talking about Atticus Cogar. Now, some of you may question, why would I want to see that? Simple. Have you guys ever seen Atticus Cogar, how he acts? He always proven that he is the best. Now, Cardona goes out saying that he is the king of the indies. Well, Cogar goes out to saying that they rule the indies. So that kind of sets in a very interesting storyline. Now, this is exactly the tweet that was posted that I saw. Let me pull it up. Okay. This is what Cardona says. I am the voice of everyone in the locker room who is afraid to stand up for themselves because they'll lose their spot. Cogar responds, Deathmatch King, who gets paid more money to do one single death match than most of the boys combined likes to throw shots at us, sticking up for ourselves. Big fish in a small pond. You're not the voice of anyone besides the people who do only death matches. Get over yourself. Shut the fuck up. I would love to see Matt Cardona try to come back for it, but I wouldn't be surprised if he invites him to his promotion and he gets murdered. But if I was Steph Delanders, I would not get involved in this. Trust me. So that is something I'm definitely going to be watching. Now, our last update here. A very interesting interview by Tam Nakano with Tokyo Sports. As you know, Tam Nakano is our second double crown champion. She's the holder of the Wonder of Stardom, the white belt, and the World of Stardom, the red belt. However, she put out something that she talked about. This was mentioned on Tokyo Sports. There's two things that kind of got my attention. The first one, she said, "My next aim is to win the Triple Crown. I will definitely grab the IWGP belt. I still remember the humiliation I experienced in January 4th Wrestle Kingdom show at the Tokyo Dome. I will make Stardom history by becoming the first ever Triple Crown champion." Now, this was Mina's idea, but now that Tam is the double crown champion, it would be interesting to see if she does. Now, it's only a matter of time until that happens. So the only question is, when will that happen? Because recently we have seen Mariah May wants the challenge for the IWGP Women's title against Mayu Iwatani. So the obvious thing is, when will that happen? We just don't know. Now, another interesting interview with the kind of made me cry from Tam Nakano. This is one that I did like. This is a message my father gave me when I was saddened by Mina and Waka's betrayal. I was very encouraged by that. I think your greatest achievement as a leader depends on how many other leaders you have been able to create. So basically, she feels that her father believes that she did create a good leader like Mina. I mean, Mina hasn't picked up her full potential because recently she's been trying to right or wrong with what happened with her and Tam back in 2021. It's only a matter of time until Mina finally reached her full potential as a leader. But as you know, Tam always talked about, the more you're saying you're stronger, I'm getting stronger as well. So we'll see what happens then, and we'll be paying attention if that day when she decides to aim for the IWGP women's title, that's only a matter of time until that happens. I think that's pretty much it for our news updates, so let's just call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, we have Choco Pro. As you know, they're going to be celebrating their, how do I say, their happy birthday, because as you know, they've been one of those phenomenal tag teams, so I can't wait to see what's going to take place with them. And of course, we cannot forget we may have NWA Power, which I'm going to be so excited, and of course NXT will be in their Fallout. So I haven't decided if there's going to be any other event shows that will be happening. Like I said, I'm a little behind with GCW, but I'll get to that as soon as possible. I think that's pretty much it right now, so I will see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. And have a nice day. Bang.